practice the story to get it in 2 minutes, right? We're doing it kind of like verbatim today, correct?
Yes.
In professionally speaking, you would practice it to have a certain amount of time, would you not?
Yes and no. And let me tell you why I kind of I challenge that school of thought sometimes, even with professional speakers that I was trained with. In fact, one of the guys that trained me paid $5,000 for the certification with the John Maxwell team, and one of their chief guys says that when he writes a speech, he writes it out word for word, verbatim, every single dot and tittle of it. Then he takes each paragraph, breaks them out by lines, numbers the lines, writes the lines by idea on color-coded cards, and lays them out throughout the course of his house. Why? Because he's a visual learner. And so he can walk his pace. I'm going to make this point right here. And how do I know that? Because the orange card is right there, and the words are in big 42-point font right there. And so I know what words I'm going to say when I'm standing right here in the audience. And then I'm going to move to this point in the audience, and I'm going to say those words right there. And then I'm going to move to this point in the audience, and I'm going to say those words right there. And so he memorizes every step, every moment, every turn, every action, everything.
Okay.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
So, I think that I'm more of an auditory learner, but what you're saying kind of makes sense to me. Like, if I'm on the phone in the car talking to someone and we talk about a specific thing, I will always remember I was right there by that 7-Eleven. Yes. So this kind of sounds like it would really help me.
It does. So let me tell you how I challenge that thought. When I teach the class at Gateway, I tell people, here's what I do not want you to do. I do not want you to go grab a manual or a study online or even your Bible and just stand at the front and read it to me. I do not want that. Nor do I want you to look up some extremely complicated, deep theological concept and spill it for everyone to go, oh man, I'm baffled by your intelligence. Here's what I want to know. If I squeeze Ralph, what comes out? Ralph juice. If I squeeze,
I don't know if that's what's going to come out.
If I squeeze an orange, I'm not going to get apple juice. If I squeeze a pineapple, I'm not going to get mango juice, right? I'm going to get what's in there. Your life is full of experiences, things that you can remember where you were standing when that call came in about that 9-month-old. Now, for me, that's a fresh story. It was just last Thursday. You were the first audience that's ever heard it, though. And did I forget any details? No, because I lived it. I wasn't making it up. See, a lot of people have to write a story down and then memorize it word for word because they're making the story up. They haven't lived that moment. They don't know those emotions. I remember seeing a guy, this guy, he's an impressive guy. He's like 6'4", 6'5". If you've ever seen those guys from the power team, they were big in the late 80s. You know, break blocks of ice and all this kind of stuff. I've watched this guy personally. My boys were there. Watched this guy personally. Grab a steel bar, put it on top of his head, and let 2 teenage girls do chin-ups on the side of it. While they're on it, he picks it up to prove that it's a solid steel bar. As soon as he sets them down, he wraps it around his neck like a bow tie. He takes a frying pan and rolls it up like a burrito. He rips a phone book in half. He breaks blocks of ice. And then he stands on the stage in front of 1,000 young people, probably 12 to 15 years old, and tells them what it was like to be a little boy who was bullied because he talked with a lisp. And when he tells the story about being beaten and drugged underneath the merry-go-round and threatened that if he got up they would spin it, this 6'4" giant bear of a man weeps like a baby on that stage. Let me tell you something. When he's standing and those little girls come back there at the end and they're seeing the tears streaming down his face, and he's going, sometimes what you need, especially as a teenager, is a hug. I don't know about you, but I could use a hug. And he'll stand at the back of the room and invite them to know Jesus, and they'll just walk back there and throw their arms around him and just stand there and cry and makeup all over his shirt. He's not making that story up. He doesn't have to memorize that and know where to turn and when to pause for a certain thing, because it's life, it's real, it's him. And that's the point that I'm talking about. I don't want to teach you to memorize a script. I think anybody can do that to some degree. What I want to teach you is that in your life you've had moments that everybody else can relate to. And just by telling what really happened to you and attaching that reality to a call to action, that people are going to respond to that. Does that answer your question, AJ?
Yeah. You have to formulate what you want, and I understand that even if you have a 2-minute story and it goes through 3 minutes because of the emotions.
Yes. Well, and generally what we're using a 2-minute format to kind of get the idea that you've got to start at a certain place and you've got to end at a certain place, and you've got to know when to transition to your call to action, you've got to know how to dovetail those two together. There are times that that's 30 seconds.
Okay.
And there may be times that that's 45 minutes, but it's not one story, it's a stack of stories.
Sure.
We don't have to learn to talk as fast.
No,
So please don't.
you talk fast.